A party is happening, not a loud one, not the kind with red cups and strangers on the balcony railing. This is an apartment party. 20, maybe 23 people. Good lighting. Someone dimmed it just right. There is music, the kind chosen to show taste without demanding attention. Someone brought wine that comes in a bottle with a label nobody recognizes, but everybody accepts. The refrigerator hums underneath everything. You are standing by the window. The window is open 2 inches. You put it there, that opening. You found the latch. You pushed it up just enough to let the air in. And now the curtain breathes against your wrist at irregular intervals. Outside, 4 floors down, a street. The amber light of a single lamppost makes a clean circle on the asphalt. The rest of the block is dark and quiet, the way cities get dark and quiet in the places nobody photographs. A cat crosses the circle of light, slowly, diagonal, not hurrying anywhere. It walks the way things walk when they, are entirely unconcerned with being watched. It reaches the far edge of the amber circle, continues into shadow, and is gone. You watch the empty asphalt for a moment longer than makes sense. Behind you, a conversation peaks and laughs. 3 people laughing at something said by a 4th, and the 4th looking pleased in the way people look pleased when they've been loud and correct. You hear all the words. You understood them before they even finish saying them. It is not that the joke is inside a language you don't speak. It is that the joke is in a register you can't locate in yourself. The frequency exists. You just don't broadcast there. You turn back to the window. The cat is not coming back. You take a sip of your drink. Whatever it is, it's become warm. And you notice, without drama, without the rising panic that would at least be interesting, that you feel exactly the same here, in this lit room full of people who invited you and mean you no harm, as you feel sitting, alone at 2 a.m. watching the ceiling. Not sad, exactly, not anxious, just slightly off frame, like a photograph where the subject is technically in the shot, but the camera was pointed just to the left. There is a word for this. It is called Monachopsis. John Koenig coined it. He is the writer behind the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, a project that names the emotional weather most people experience but never have the vocabulary to report. Monachopsis, specifically, is the subtle, but persistent feeling of being out of place, not displaced catastrophically, not wrong city, wrong century, wrong body in any operatic sense, just slightly wrong, slightly tilted relative to the world and the people in it, the way a painting hung 2 degrees off vertical looks, to certain people, immediately, almost unbearably wrong, while nobody else in the room notices. The word borrows from the Greek monachos, solitary, alone, but the condition it names is subtler than solitude. You can be alone and feel correctly placed. You can be surrounded by people who love you, in a room designed for joy, and feel like the background, like a character in a film who exists so the real characters have someone to talk to. This is not social anxiety. It is not depression, though it lives in the same postal code. It is not introversion, though introverts know its address well. Monachopsis is the specific, nagging, low-grade conviction that you are occupying a role in life that doesn't quite fit, not ill-fitting enough to explain or complain about, not so tight that anyone would notice from the outside. It fits. It functions. You show up. You participate. You are, by all measurable metrics, present. And yet, the woman and her apartment. Her name doesn't matter. Call her nothing. She exists in a city that could be any city in the Northern Hemisphere, the kind with good public transit and overpriced groceries and a neighborhood that was industrial until the artists moved in and then overpriced until the artists moved out. She has lived in the same apartment for 11 years. She has repainted it 4 times. The first color was white, not the white the walls came with, a deliberate, chosen white, warmer than clinical, a white that felt, in the paint store, like a beginning. She lasted 3 years with that white. Then she painted it a gray-green, the color that was on every design website in a particular autumn. That one lasted 14 months. Then a terracotta. Then back to something close to white, but not the same white. A white with a name like parchment, or linen, or mourning. The kind of name that promises a feeling and arrives as a slightly different color on the wall than on the chip. She tells herself, and this is true, that she likes her apartment. She does not say the other thing. The other thing is that she has been trying, with each repainting, to make the walls feel like somewhere she's from, not a destination, not a nice place to live, somewhere she's from. The way some people walk into a childhood home after 20 years and the smell of it lands like a key turning. She has never had a smell like that. She has had addresses. She has had places she's paid rent. She has had walls. She paints them again and stands in the middle of the room, wet brush still in her hand, and waits. It doesn't happen. She is not devastated by this. That's the thing about Monachopsis. It does not devastate. It settles. It is not the dramatic grief of loss, but the quiet grief of not quite having, which is harder to grieve because harder to point to. You cannot mourn what you cannot name. She stands in the room, and it's a nice room, and the color is good, and she feels like a tourist in her own 11 years. She orders takeout. She eats it standing at the counter, looking out the window at the building across the street. In a lit window over there, someone is doing dishes. She watches them for a moment. They look comfortable doing dishes in their kitchen. She cannot tell why. She cannot tell what that person has that she doesn't. They are just standing at a sink, but they look like they belong to the sink. Like the sink is theirs in some way she hasn't managed to make anything hers. She finishes eating. She washes her own dishes. She wonders if someone is watching her from across the street and concluding that she looks comfortable in her kitchen. She thinks this is probably funny. She is not sure. 2. The back of the photograph. Every important photograph has a background. Not a backdrop, a background. The street that continues past the subject, the restaurant behind the couple, the crowd behind the athlete. And in that background, always, without exception, there are people. Real people. People with names and sorrows and apartments they've repainted. People who were having a completely separate afternoon and walked through the frame at the wrong moment, or the right moment, or just a moment, and now they are frozen. There, slightly blurred, witnesses to someone else's focal point. They are not invisible. They are just not what the camera chose. Monachopsis is this, experienced from the inside. It is not the sensation of being unseen. It is the sensation of being background, of understanding, without anyone explaining it, that the camera of the collective moment is always, somehow, pointed just past you, that the conversation remembers the room but not your seat in it, that you were there, that you participated, that you were part of the day, and yet when the day is described later to someone who wasn't there, you are the detail that gets cut for time. The person describing it is not cruel. They simply did not notice the cut. This is the unbearable quietness of Monachopsis. It requires no villain. There is no one to blame for the way the aperture opens and closes around you. The light simply falls the way light falls, and some things are in it and some things aren't. And you happen, persistently, across many different rooms and many different years, to be standing just outside it. 3. What the modern world did to belonging. There was a time, historians argue about when, and probably it was never quite as clean as nostalgia requires, but there was something like this time, when belonging was structural, not chosen. You were born in a place, and it was your place. The village knew you before you knew yourself. The trade was your father's trade. The feast was the same feast. Your grandmother attended. The belonging was not selected. It was given, like the shape of your nose, non-negotiable, built into the coordinates of your birth. This has advantages nobody romanticizes anymore, because they don't have to. No one is nostalgic for smallpox or for having their life predetermined at birth. The loss of structural belonging was a trade for freedom, autonomy, mobility, the possibility of becoming something other than the thing you were handed. This was worth it. Most people, if given the genuine choice, would not go back. And yet, what replaced structural belonging was chosen belonging. You assemble it. You move to the city, and you find your people, and you build your tribe. This is the modern promise, and it is not false. People do find their people. Cities do contain them. Communities are constructed and sustained by choice, and they are real. But chosen belonging requires a different skill than structural belonging. It requires a certain ease in the searching, a legibility in the presenting, a fluency in the social frequencies, where one says, clearly, I am this kind of person, are you? And the world answers, yes, come in. And the thing is built. Some people have always had this ease. They move through rooms like the rooms were designed for them. They broadcast on the common frequency without apparent effort. They make friends at parties and belong to groups, and when the group photo is taken, they are in the center, which is where they naturally gravitated, which is where they naturally fit. Others enter the same rooms, and something is slightly wrong from the start, and they can't name what. The ease is not there. The fluency is partial. They speak the language, but with an accent nobody can identify, which is worse than a recognizable accent because there's nothing to point to. They reach for the belonging, and their hands close on something close to it, but not it, and they hold this not quite belonging and wonder if it's just them, if it's some deficiency in the technique, if they're doing the room wrong. Monachopsis does not answer this question. It is not a character flaw, and it is not destiny. It is a condition, which means it is just a thing that is. Some people experience it sometimes. Some people experience it most of the time. Some people construct entire lives around the attempt to resolve it, moving cities, changing careers, redesigning apartments in colors with names like morning, and the condition does not resolve. It is not that kind of thing. IV, the man at the conference, different story, different person. He is good at his job, genuinely good, not in the way people say they're good at things when they've simply done them for long enough to not fail catastrophically. Genuinely skilled, respected, sought out for opinions. He knows this. He is not delusional about his place in his field. He is at a conference, his field's annual conference, the one he has attended for 9 years, the one where he knows half the room, and the other half knows his work, if not his face. He is, by any external metric, in his element. He is in a room of people who do the thing he does, who care about the things he cares about, who would, if you described them to him, sound exactly like his people. He stands at the coffee station between sessions. The coffee is the conference hotel coffee, the kind that has been sitting since early morning and now has the consistency of something that was trying to become a different substance and failed. He holds his cup. Around him, clusters of people form and reform with what appears to be magnetic ease. 2 colleagues who have not seen each other in a year find each other, and immediately the warmth of genuine reunion is visible from 3 meters. A group of 4 form around a shared irritation about a panel. Someone makes a joke that does not quite land, but everyone laughs because the speaker is senior, and the laughing is a social lubricant and not a he. Lie exactly. He watches this. He could join any of these groups. He knows people in each cluster. He is not excluded. Nobody is pointedly ignoring him. He could walk to any conversation, and the conversation would absorb him politely, and he would be included. He does not walk over. He holds his coffee. He does not know what he is waiting for. He is not aware that he is waiting. He is simply not quite yet. There is some threshold he is trying to cross, some invisible turnstile, and the problem is he can't see it clearly enough to push through it. The room is warm and busy and familiar, and he is in it, and he is also, somehow, watching it. Later, on the flight home, the woman next to him falls asleep immediately, and there is no one to talk to, and he feels quietly more comfortable than he has all week. He does not analyze this. He watches the dark land below the clouds and doesn't think about it, but it is there. V. The cat. The cat on the street did not belong to the street. It is unlikely to have belonged anywhere in the human sense. Cats are not, by disposition, creatures of belonging. They are creatures of territory, which is a related but importantly different thing. Territory is practical. It is about resources and safety, and knowing the exits. Belonging is something more ineffable. Belonging is when the space receives you, and you receive it back, and there is a quiet, mutual recognition between self and place. The cat moved across the asphalt with the ease of a creature who had made peace with the fact that it was simply whatever it was, in whatever space it occupied, and the space was fine with this arrangement. Some people look at that and see freedom. Some people look at that and feel quietly like something has been shown to them that they have not been given. A native ease with existing in a place. A relationship with being somewhere that doesn't require justification or effort or repainting. The cat disappears into the dark, and the amber lamppost continues to light a circle of empty street. The party continues behind the glass. Somewhere, a refrigerator hums. The curtain moves against a wrist. This is not a moment of crisis. Nothing is ending. Nobody is falling apart. It is just standing by a window with a warm drink and noticing without drama that the world outside the glass looks like it belongs to itself in a way that the world inside has never quite managed to include you. 6.6. The texture of it. Here is what Monachopsis does not feel like. It does not feel like loneliness exactly, though they share a surface. Loneliness is an absence. It is the specific ache of a gap where connection should be. You can point to loneliness. You can say, I have no one to call, and the loneliness is located in that gap. Monachopsis has no gap. This is what makes it difficult to metabolize. The connections are there. The people are there. The room is warm and the people are kind, and the wine is decent, and you are, in the technical sense, not alone. You are, in the important sense, alone in a way nobody would be able to see if they were watching. It is as internal as a dream. It leaves no evidence. It is the sensation, and this is the closest any language has gotten, of watching your own life from one row back, not outside it, not above it, one row back, close enough to see clearly, far enough to feel the small, persistent distance between you and the thing you're watching, which is yourself, which is your life, which is continuing perfectly adequately, without seeming to require that you fully inhabit it. Some days it is barely there. Some weeks you forget it exists. Then a party happens, or a conference, or a Sunday afternoon that is objectively fine, and you're standing at a window and a cat crosses a lit street and something crystallizes, briefly, before dissolving again into the texture of ordinary days. It crystallizes into this. I am here, and here feels like the wrong here, and I don't know which here would, you, be the right one. And then the curtain moves against your wrist, and someone says your name from across the room, and you turn from the window, and you smile, which is a real smile, not performed, and you walk toward them, and the moment is over. Yesta, on not being fixed. There are people who will tell you that Monachopsis is curable by the right mindfulness practice, the right city, the right relationship, the right medication, the right reframing. Some of these things genuinely reduce its presence. Medication for the conditions that share its neighborhood, connection that reaches through it, places that fit better than others. But Monachopsis, in its purest form, is not a malfunction. It is an orientation. Like being left-handed in a world designed for the right-handed. The world is not wrong and you are not wrong, and the mismatch is simply a mismatch, structural and old, and not anyone's fault. What changes, for most people who carry it, is not the condition but the relationship to the condition. There is a version of Monachopsis that is suffered, carried as evidence of defect, as proof that something in you is irrevocably broken, that the ease others move through the world with is the normal, and your lack of it is an aberration requiring correction. This version is exhausting. This version turns every party into a test and every comfortable room into an accusation, and there is another version, quieter, harder to reach, the version where you know clearly, and without drama, that you are slightly off frequency in a way that is simply true, the way your handwriting is yours, and not the handwriting of another person, where the woman paints her walls, and the paint is a nice color, and she lives in it, where the man holds his conference coffee and watches the room and then flies home in the dark and feels more himself at 35,000 feet than in any lobby, where you stand at the window and the cat crosses the street and you think, I see you, I understand that about you, and you turn back to the room. This is not peace exactly. It is the thing adjacent to peace that comes from accurate self-knowledge, the knowing that you are, among all the places you have tried to stand, exactly where you are, not where you should be, not where the others are, just where you are, slightly off to the side, looking at a lit circle of street, slightly, persistently. Here, you will be in a room again soon, not tonight maybe, or tonight, a room with people in it, and music chosen to signal something, and wine or not wine, and the ambient noise of many small lives happening in proximity. You will feel the room receive you the way rooms receive people, warmly enough, adequately, with no particular viciousness, and there will be a moment, brief and specific, where the distance crystallizes, where you are one row back, where the curtain moves against your wrist and you look down at the street. Know this, the cat was real. Not just on that street. In every city, on every amber-lit block, there are cats crossing slowly through light that belongs to no one, moving toward dark they are not afraid of. They are not belonging anywhere. They are just crossing. And they are, in whatever way a cat can be anything, entirely themselves in the crossing. You were there for the cat. The cat did not need you to see it. But you were there. That is not nothing. That is, in fact, everything this feeling can teach you. That there is a kind of presence that does not require belonging. That witness is its own form of being in the world. That standing at a window and seeing clearly is not the same as being absent. That you are not a background character. You are the one watching. And the one watching always knows more about the room than the room knows about itself. Monachopsis does not go away. It comes and goes like weather. On the days it comes, stand at the window if you need to. Watch the street. Note what crosses. Then turn back when you're ready. The room will still be there. So will you. This is the human lexicon. You are not alone. Sleep well. A few structural notes on the decisions made here, for the archive. The word is delivered at the end of phase 1. No ceremony, no build-up, just dropped into the middle of an ordinary moment. Phase 3 runs as 7 distinct movements rather than 3 neat sections, each approaching Monachopsis from a different angle. Micro-story, philosophical metaphor, historical essay, second micro-story, sensory, return, phenomenological texture, and reframing. The cat is introduced in the opening and returns throughout as the structural ghost, ending not as a symbol explained, but as a fact confirmed. The tone never confort, it only names.